The short story is about the history of the Titanic. The Titanic was one of the most famous ships in history. It was a large passenger ship that sank on its very first trip across the Atlantic Ocean. The story of the Titanic is remembered because it was a great tragedy, but also because the ship was believed to be unsinkable. Building the Titanic. The Titanic was built in Belfast, Northern Ireland, by a company called Harland and Wolff. It was made for the White Star Line, a British shipping company. Construction started in 1909 and finished in 1912. At the time, the Titanic was the largest and most luxurious ship in the world. The Titanic was over 882 feet long and more than 100 feet tall. It had 9 decks, 4 smokestacks, only 3 worked. The 4th was just for looks and could carry over 2,200 passengers and crew. The ship was designed to be very fancy, especially for first-class passengers. With swimming pools, restaurants, grand staircases, and beautiful rooms. The unsinkable ship. Many people thought the Titanic could never sink. It had watertight compartments in the bottom of the ship that were supposed to keep water out if it was damaged. Because of this design, people called the Titanic unsinkable. Sadly, this turned out to be wrong. Cheek, the maiden voyage. The Titanic left on its first journey, called a maiden voyage, on April 10, 1912. It started in Southampton, England, and planned to stop in France and Ireland, before heading across the Atlantic Ocean to New York City, USA. On board were some of the richest people in the world, including businessmen, famous names, and families. There were also many poor immigrants, hoping to start a new life in America. The ship had first class, second class, and third class passengers, with very different living conditions. The iceberg collision. On the night of April 14, 1912, just 4 days into the trip, the Titanic hit an iceberg in the North Atlantic Ocean. The iceberg tore a long hole in the side of the ship, damaging several of its watertight compartments. At first, many people didn't realize how serious the damage was, but soon, the crew discovered that the ship was going to sink. There were not enough lifeboats for everyone on board. The Titanic only had 20 lifeboats, which could carry about 1,200 people, but there were over 2,200 people on the ship. The sinking. As the ship began to sink, the crew told women and children to get into the lifeboats first. Some boats left with empty seats because people didn't believe the ship would really go down. There was confusion, fear, and not enough time. Just over 2 hours after hitting the iceberg, the Titanic broke in half and sank beneath the water at 2:20 a.m. on April 15, 1912. The ocean was freezing cold. Many people who didn't get into lifeboats died in the icy water. Rescue and loss. A nearby ship called the Carpathia arrived about 2 hours later and rescued the people in the lifeboats. In total, about 1,500 people died, and only around 700 survived. The sinking of the Titanic was one of the deadliest peacetime ship disasters in history. It shocked the world and led to many changes in safety rules for ships. After the tragedy. After the Titanic disaster, new laws were made to make sure ships had enough lifeboats for everyone. Ships also had to have 24-hour radio communication and do regular lifeboat drills. For many years, the Titanic stayed lost at the bottom of the ocean. Then, in 1985, scientists led by Robert Ballard found the wreck of the Titanic. It was about 12,500 feet, 3,800 meters deep in the Atlantic Ocean. Since then, many movies, books, and documentaries have been made about the Titanic. The most famous is the 1997 movie Titanic, directed by James Cameron, which tells a love story on board the ship. Why people remember the Titanic? People remember the Titanic not just because it was a tragedy, but because it teaches important lessons. It reminds us that even great technology can fail and that safety must always come first. The Titanic also showed the courage and kindness of many people who helped others during a terrible time. Give some feedback on this story, and please comment, how will I help you for Learn English? If you want Learn English in just simple steps, please do subscribe this channel at Grandpa786 on YouTube. Thanks for your love.